So are we going to have to see the government structurally make a change in their operating model? Because we've got 4IR, which is driving this huge global change in multiple industries. And then we've got this huge issue with global warming, which Bill Gates has made so transparent and clear and written about so frequently. I follow him, and I think he really hits the nail on the head. We have got to find a way to reduce and remove carbon from the atmosphere. So you've got these kind of two levers which are having significant impacts at every single level. And I wonder if there needs to be a change in the way that the ANC are absolutely directing their attention and funding and support for different industries to go and solve these two interesting problems.
Look, the world is very complex. And when you reduce that complexity from a global scale into the South African environment, as one example, those complexities play themselves out, don't they, in so many multiple ways. So you've got the climate change issue, you've got the employment crisis in South Africa, you've got the hunger crisis in South Africa. The COVID crisis is laid over that. You've got a political crisis, in a sense, within the ruling party, and a moral crisis in society that's all linked into the legacy of the apartheid legacy, producing a situation where the outsiders of the system are battling to effectively use the modern constitutional tools to compete for resources, and therefore you see the rise of the Zuma corruption phenomenon, which is, it's not just a series of events, it's a societal movement which effectively is authorizing a political party regime to use its political capital to capture and distribute economic resources to those who can't compete for it in a modern constitutional way, which feeds this ruling party division and competition for the soul of the ANC. I mean, it's quite certain that if Mandela was alive today, he would be looking greatly askance, the Tambo legacy and so on. So if they would be looking at the ANC today disbelievingly as to where we have got to, for example, with the Secretary General up on corruption charges and manipulating, the Integrity Committee's compulsion for the ruling party to effectively remove anybody with corruption charge. But these are the complexities of a global world that effectively now compresses into a South African environment, and you've got so many different outcomes that can eventuate. Is it important for South Africa to effectively deconstruct its reality? When I say deconstruct, I have an architecture background, and the notion of deconstruction in architecture was that you take a physical image and a physical set of objects and you pull them apart to their component elements, and then you rearrange them and completely without reference to the original object, although the original object is inherent in the elements. You construct a new product that is a result of the deconstructivism. In a sense, that's what your question is. We need to deconstruct our reality and reconstruct it in a way that is most constructive for what we need to achieve. What do we need in South Africa? We need a democratic constitutional state that protects the integrity of what people fought for over the last 50 years. We need the future of each South African to be full of opportunity, not to be effectively a captive, not for individuals to be a captive of their past, of their lack of skills, or their lack of access to schools, or their lack of access to food, which is the reality for half the population in South Africa. We need the economy to allow for those inside and outside to be in there. That was why the Youth Employment Service was effectively constructed, to allow unemployed youth to have access to youth internship opportunities paid for by businesses to get the benefit of that. We have about a 30% absorption rate. We just came out of a Youth Employment Service Board meeting this morning. Of the 50,000 people that have gone through the internship program so far, 30% have been absorbed into permanent positions of one form or another, which is, I think, a remarkable achievement. We would love to see many more people, get the opportunities. But this is how to deconstruct and reconstruct reality, is through a very thoughtful process of taking all of these complex forces in the world and making the best of it in our reality.
Are you hopeful we're going to make progress? Obviously, you're on things like the CEO initiative and have been on various initiatives for the last 20 or 30 years to try to make a positive impact. Have you seen positive impacts? Are you still hopeful we're going to see them going forward?
Well, let me just say, Colin, I'm writing a book at the moment. It's top secret. Please don't mention it publicly. But it's in a novel-like form about South Africa through the 40 years of my life since I was 18 years old, when my brother, just older than me, was detained by the security police. And when you look at the last 40 years in South Africa and you think about the struggle for liberation, you think about the rise of Mandela and that crowning moment, at the World Cup when South Africa won the rugby and Mandela embraced the country, and through it there was this unleashing of the great sort of sense of liberation of our souls, not just the victory at the World Cup, through to the Mbeki masterful management of the economy, although he had his blind spots, and those blind spots giving rise to Zuma, and the Zuma era of 10 years of attack on this democratic institutional system and taking South Africa back. And what we're doing now is trying to restore some of that Mandela magic back into the system through the rise and supporting the rise of Ramaphosa. The truth is, he's been there 3 years and he's achieved far less than we would have hoped. But we're much better off with him having achieved far less than we would have been had the Zuma era effectively gone on through his chosen successor. And we see that phenomenon in the Zondo Commission. So again, it's not an uncomplicated answer, because the truth is we're winning some victories as a nation in the battle against corruption and in saving our democracy, but we're losing important battles. So we haven't been defeated, but we're not significantly enough. Now, I'm not talking about one individual in the form of the president. I'm talking as a country. We're not significantly enough advancing the cause of democracy. We're not significantly enough demonstrating the benefits of a modern economy to the citizens who have been locked out. We're not yet succeeding in clamping down on corruption through prosecutions. We're not seeing enough of those victories. There are some. So when you ask me, are we doing enough in the CEO initiative, in the Youth Employment Service and so on, I would say there is a valiant battle being fought, and we are making some victories happen, but we're nowhere near where we should be as a country. And we have to support the forces of good in South Africa, and it's only ourselves to blame if we don't. This is our opportunity. And I always look back on the Mbeki era, and I remember, he was really from a business perspective, he was an outstanding president in terms of taking what was a very broken economy and rebuilding it. And we saw by 2006, 2007, pre-global financial crisis, the benefits hitting 4 or 5% growth per annum. And yet, business people were not vocally supporting President Mbeki. There was no sense of people getting out there and really beating the drum. This was the leadership that we wanted. And it's the same thing now with President Ramaphosa. People must, of course, comment good and bad on achievements, but I think they must get out there and to play their part in a very, very active way. Because, life is not about commentary. The life is about what you're doing to change the realities.